Right now, I'm filming at Harvard. I don't know why I said it like that, but I have a very low battery, so this is just gonna be a quick video. I just got done filming some people for another video that I'm gonna put out. I've actually interviewed over 20 people at this point. I wanna kind of just take a few minutes and share some of the lessons that I've been learning from interviewing people. I actually got like a very pretty interesting question from someone at work that I was having a coffee chat with. She's around my age, and I guess she did research on me before the coffee chat, so she knew that I had a YouTube channel. And she was basically just asking me how do you find something outside of work that you really care about? So what I want to do in this video is use some of the lessons that I've been learning from doing these interviews to kind of address her question, because I didn't really have a good answer in the moment. So how do you find, or how do you make a project outside of work that is interesting, that you enjoy? From what I've learned so far, you have to be self-aware. And to be self-aware, you have to try new things. You have to do things that are going to get you out of your comfort zone. I think from a lot of the people that I've been interviewing a lot of the people that I've been interviewing recently, just the theme that they've been talking about is they got out of their comfort zone.
1.5 years ago, I decided to do a second master's, which is not a stereotypical path that people take. And I had so many people ask me these questions, why I'm doing it. And I did it at BU, which is a really big school. So I was even more nervous. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Yeah, I did it for myself. I got a job by the end of it. It was super hard because I always wanted to move to the West Coast. But I chose to stay back in BU and go to school. And I think I am so much more open to new things now than I was 2 years ago. So I think that's something that I did, which really got me out of my comfort zone. So now I'm an econ major, because that's what I majored in undergrad, working with computer science engineers. So I think that's cool, and I think I like that.
It is cool. I think self-awareness is very crucial, and to become more self-aware, you do have to get out of your comfort zone. I know for me, the most recent thing that I've done to get out of my comfort zone is doing these interviews. I remember, and I was going through my notes app on this, I've had the idea to interview people for 3 years. In 2022, I wrote down that I would interview people about what books they were reading. And so I always knew I wanted to try kind of this interview style thing. I just never did it. And part of that was because I wasn't comfortable with interviewing people on the street. I didn't know how I could get someone to film me. I didn't know if I would be good at interviewing people. I didn't know if people would even agree to stop and answer questions. So now it's kind of funny looking at that notes app and remembering the doubts I had, because now at this point I've filmed 20 interviews, and I'm finding it easier and easier as I go. And a lot of the doubts I had, finding people to film me, now I just ask my friends. And if I don't know anyone, then I ask my friends' friends. You have to be self-aware. And the way to become self-aware is trying new things and getting out of your comfort zone. Because when you get out of your comfort zone, when you do things that make you go oh, I can do that. That's when you learn about yourself. That's when you learn the type of projects or the type of people that you want to be with, the type of city that you want to live in. That's when you learn about yourself. So the key is self-awareness, but it's also getting out of your comfort zone, which has been a theme on this channel since I started it 4 years ago. I think the other thing is just commitment. I know I talked about that in the last video. I learned from Alistair, the man I interviewed in New York, about dedication. But just from working on this project more, I've learned not just from the people I've been interviewing, but also the fact that after work, I need to have a schedule to edit my videos, or I need to schedule filming my videos. Just from continuing to do this, I realized that dedication is important, and it isn't just passion. You have to really enjoy what you're doing. What you do shouldn't feel like work most of the time. And that doesn't mean that sometimes you may have trouble working on the thing. I know for me, like editing is something that sometimes I struggle to motivate myself to do because it takes a long time for me. It's not something that comes like, I don't want to say it can come naturally, but it's something that takes a long time. And so it requires me to sometimes lie to myself and say like, oh, you know what? I'll just edit for like 10 to 15 minutes. And then like once I start editing, I know like I get into it. I see like, oh, like this story isn't complete. I need to like figure out a way to communicate this story. So my point is like, you have to be self-aware, but you also have to be dedicated. And the way that I have been dedicated is like the self-awareness piece, knowing like working on something that I enjoy. But the second piece is just understanding the costs of not doing this. The way that I understand the costs of not working on my thing is by talking to other people. And what I mean by that is I talk to other people about work and how they see work and what they do outside of work. And as I talk to more people, I realize that people don't enjoy their jobs. When we have like this whole conversation around work-life balance, it's because most people don't enjoy work. And so they kind of separate the two, whereas work is something that pays the bills, but life outside of work, that's where like you get to have fun. And I realized that that's just not the type of life that I want to live. I was watching a video from Casey Neistat. He's like this really famous filmmaker. He was asked like, what's his definition of success? And he said that success is waking up, going to sleep, and between that period, doing the thing that he wants to do, doing what he chooses to do. And I agree with that definition. And just by like observing other people complain about work, or like you just kind of see that they're doing the job that they're doing is because of, you know, you have to pay the bills, that sort of thing. That scares me. And so that is what motivates me to work on my thing, to be dedicated. I think the final takeaway, and my camera is about to die, or battery, but just make sure that like you get people involved. I think that's something that I made a mistake of early on in my channel. I just tried to do everything solo, and now I've realized that it's just way more fun to get people involved. So whether that's asking my friends to film the video or even like interviewing people, like that's interactive. Again, like it goes back to the self-awareness part. So I would just say to the person that asked me, like, how do you find good work outside of work? You be more self-aware, you get out of your comfort zone. When you figure out that thing that you want to do, dedicate yourself to it and make it a priority. That's what I'm learning so far from the interviews. I think the people that scare me in the interviews in terms of like life paths are just people who've kind of given up. I don't want to give up. And that's why committing myself to this is so important. Oh, and one more thing, don't try and be perfect. This video isn't perfect. It doesn't reach the expectation of what I want my videos to be, but that's okay because I'm just putting it out. So don't try and be perfect if you're starting your new project. Just put something out. That's the key. Put something out, move on, keep going, get better. So my camera's about to die, but that's the big lesson. All right, looking forward to the next interviews.